This is the 2017 Scalpel Si Carbon 3 in size medium that I'm reviewing. Although it's the 2017 model, it's actually the same frame as the current Scalpel Si. So much of what I'm saying today will translate to the current models. This bike is so versatile and so capable across such varied terrain that it's worth a look. So I'm going to talk about the experience of riding this bike over the year that I've had it. So the biggest thing I noticed about this bike when I got it was the new geometry. The new geometry, it took a while to get used to, but after a few rides I realized this new Scalpel Si frame is just so much faster just about everywhere over the old Scalpel. It felt a little unnatural, but once I hit the descents, the new geometry with the slacker head angle and more aggressive handling style, coupled with the wider bars, super stiff lefty fork, made this bike into a descending machine, and I was able to descend trails so much faster over the old Scalpel, which really felt pretty twitchy coming down hills. This new Scalpel Si just inspires so much more confidence, and you're really able to rip it going down hills. On the climbs, the slacker head angle at first might make you think that it doesn't climb quite as well as the old Scalpel, which had quite a steep head angle and really felt like a real mountain goat when it attacked any kind of climb. It could just go up anything. But this new Si is actually just as, if not more capable than the old one. I think it's a mixture of the new suspension design, which feels way more responsive, and the fork offset that allows this thing to climb really well. And then also on the kind of flat or technical flatter terrain, it's still faster again. I feel like there's a big improvement on the suspension on this bike over the previous model. The pedaling efficiency of the new Si is really outstanding. I still look it out when I'm climbing or I'm on a smooth trail, but I know that when I put the power down and I don't have it locked out, that power is going to be transferred as efficiently as possible for a dual suspension bike. I've ridden the new Specialized Epic. I feel like the Scalpel, when it's not locked out, feels similar to that, but once you do lock it out, it becomes fully rigid and you're able to transfer the power with 100% efficiency, which is really noticeable over the arm lock setting. It would be nice to have a midpoint between fully locked out and totally open, similar to the Scott bikes, and I think the BMC 4-stroke does a similar thing. But to have a central spot, so it's kind of half travel or maybe 70% of the travel, could actually be really handy for races and trail riding. The other great thing about this new Scalpel Si is that it has room for 2 bottle cages, which maybe sounds a little bit trivial, but on long races and rides, it's really invaluable, and I can't tell you how many times I've used it over the year. I've pointed this thing down some of Derby's roughest trails. I've raced this thing. I've ridden endurance marathon style events on it. I've really done everything on this bike, and it really comes out on top in almost all of those scenarios. I've definitely found the limit with this bike, and that probably would be a double black diamond run at the Derby. But again, this is a cross-country race bike. That's how it should be ridden. I feel like if you want to convert this to a trail bike, you should maybe just buy the SE or the Habit. I'm going to talk a little bit about the componentry and the equipment on the bike. The biggest thing to note on this bike is that the hydraulic lockout is a real flop. My previous 2016 Scalpel had the same lockout, and it failed after maybe 4 to 6 weeks of riding on both bikes. There is a repair kit that you can buy that's really cheap but very labor intensive to fit, which does fix the problem. If you're buying one of these secondhand or new, just be conscious of the fact that you might have to spend some money in a pretty short period repairing the lockout with this kit. I'll see if I can find a link to the kit in the description. Hopefully that'll help all you folks out there that are stuck with a non-functional lockout and have no ability to fix it. The other thing to be aware of is the Lefty. So the Lefty is an amazing fork or suspension system, but it does require you to keep on top of maintenance, and if you leave it too long, the repairs can be really super costly. Can now recommend servicing the fork every 50 hours or so, and I would also recommend the same. I left my last fork repair way too long and it cost me almost $600 to replace some key parts in the fork. I recently sent this latest Lefty off to get serviced and it was only about $200. The Lefty for me is still one of the biggest selling points of the Cannondale lineup. It's a really unique fork and gets a lot of strange looks, but it really does work. They're also incredibly stiff. I think they're the stiffest fork out there, which I really love. It's really awesome to be able to point this thing exactly where I need it to go, especially on a hectic downhill. There's very little flex or movement in the front wheel or the steering when you're negotiating tricky or technical or rough terrain. Of course, the XT brakes, I think everyone knows this. These things are so solid and so reliable. They work as great today as the day that I got them, and I've only just replaced one set of brake pads as well after 2,200 kilometers. That's pretty awesome. One thing to note on the recassette is it can get loose with the hub, so there's a little lockout nut that you need to keep on top of in terms of tightness, otherwise the cassette can come loose as it sits on the hub, and that's going to cause shifting problems and eventually more serious problems with the drivetrain if you leave it go unattended. I also noticed that the rear suspension has developed quite a bit of play in it. When I move the rear tyre from side to side, there is quite a lot of movement and a little bit of clunking. I'm pretty sure if this is just a matter of giving the rear suspension a little bit of love, maybe replacing the odd bearing here and there. The Schwalbe Racing Ralph tyres that come on this bike are, I find, really great. They grip awesome, but they are really lightweight cross-country tyres, so they will get holes in them easily, and the sidewalls are also pretty thin. I've been pretty lucky with punches throughout the year I've had this bike. I've probably only actually had one or two the whole time, so the tubeless system works really well. The Stan's wheels are awesome. They're super strong, super stiff. The rims have put up with an absolute beating. All the rock gardens I've sent this thing through, I'm really super impressed by these Stan's CREST Mark III wheels. Another slightly annoying thing with the cable routing is that it does rattle inside the frame a little, which can be a bit annoying. I'm also not really convinced by the whole AI offset thing. I feel like maybe they should have just made the bike one by specific and done away with the AI offset. It just means you can't replace the rear wheel with someone else's rear wheel because the dish is slightly different. That said, the wheels have stayed really true and strong. The back end on this bike is super stiff and the drivetrain has performed almost flawlessly. One thing on the drivetrain that has actually failed is the XTR rear derailleur. So what happened is the jockey wheel kept dropping the chain in between the cage and the jockey wheel. I replaced the XTR derailleur with an XT one and it's been fine ever since. Another thing with this bike is that it probably could be a little bit lighter. I know the new Lefty forks are almost half a kilo lighter than the current ones. So if you get a chance to get ones with the new Ocho, I would recommend doing that over this current Lefty 2 design that I've got. Also, the chain guard fell off my rear chainstay on the drivetrain side pretty soon after I got the bike. It doesn't seem to have been a problem though, because literally I've not once dropped the chain on this bike the whole time I've ridden it. So I really don't think the chainstay guard going missing is a big problem. All the Cannondale parts like the seat post, the stem, the bars, all performed awesome. The nice carbon bars, nice sleek look. Really rate these Cannondale components that they ship with their bikes. Also, another Cannondale component that I really love are the Hologram Cranks. So these are some of the lightest cranks out there. They're super stiff and they look killer. Really rate these Cannondale Hologram Cranks. I've got them on my road bike as well. So to summarize, this is definitely a cross-country race bike and should be treated as such. If you want a trail bike, go and buy a specific trail bike like the Scalpel SE or the Cannondale Habit. But right now, I don't think there's another XC bike that I'd rather be riding at the moment, aside from maybe a spec'd up or newer model of the same bike. Cannondale have really hit the nail on the head here with the needs of the modern cross-country racer. It's fun to take this bike to even more places that I know in the past I would have been shaking in my boots to ride, but now I'm able to just smash through this tough, technical, steep terrain and be confident in the handling of this bike. But then I'm also able to hit the climbs with 100% confidence, knowing that this thing is still the mountain goat that is synonymous with the Scalpel name. It's also really good value for money if you compare it to Specialized Epic or BMC's 4-stroke. I think the Cannondale is really competitively priced. I'd really highly recommend the Cannondale SI. Try and get a newer model or spec'd up model with the cable actuated lockout and the Lefty Ocho, and you'll absolutely love it. If you're someone who races cross country or wants that competitive edge over your mates on the trails and you're willing to forego a little bit of suspension travel, this is probably the bike for you. It's only 100 mils of travel, but really this bike makes 100% use of it, and I really don't think I've ever fully bottomed this thing out. Much recommended bike. Go out there, enjoy the trails, get involved. Please like, comment and subscribe. Say hi on the trails, and please stay tuned for more tales from the trails.